Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Warning: this video will contain spoilers for the 2003 Dan Slott comic, Batman Arkham Asylum Living Hell. It may also include discussions or images of violence, sexual situations, and drug use. Viewing beyond this point is a choice you have made, and you take responsibility for that choice. Thank you, and please have a nice day.
Hello and welcome to this video. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone is having fun, and I hope the universe is treating you fairly. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the 2003 Dan Slott Batman miniseries titled Arkham Asylum Living Hell. In all transparency, I need to point out a few things. Basically, Batman appears in this miniseries in the minimum number of panels that he's required to appear in, and then still be able to put Batman on the title. Dan Slott is one of those writers that is really concerned with continuity. He likes things to flow. He likes things from one artist to from one writer to the next writer, from artist to artist, to flow, to kind of be like poetry, so it rhymes. So Batman in 2003, when this came out, in the mainline continuity of Batman, there was Batman, the Joker, Two-Face, and I want to say Mr. Freeze. We're doing some big adventures. So Slott basically wrote this story, and it's the main character is actually, in my opinion, Arkham Asylum. He asks some wonderful philosophical and poignant questions in the story narrative of this book. He also created some characters that started out in this book that actually have a few of them, 3 of them in fact, have actually caught a little bit of hold and are used by other writers, which, and from what I've read, my understanding, and I could have this kind of out of whack, and if you know for sure, feel free to let me know in the comments. But it's my understanding, if you create a character and another writer uses that character, you get a certain amount of royalties from that writer using your character. And it can be just a cameo, a background, or something like that, and you're going to get X%, and the amount you get is dependent on how much the character is used, whether the character speaks, whether the character has a main role, a supporting role, a cameo, or what have you. Which is good, and that's the reason why writers will do that. You'll have comics where you'll have another writer's creation in the background, or that is awesome. That is so that writer can get a little bit of money, and also the union dues and the union rules and stuff. From what I understand, if your creations fall below a certain amount of use per year or whatever, you lose things like medical insurance and stuff like that. So the writers kind of help each other out that way. The list of characters that he created for this book are Great White Shark, who kind of went nowhere, Doodlebug, Humpty Dumpty, Jane Doe, Lunkhead, and Aaron Cash. Of those characters he created, Humpty Dumpty, Jane Doe, and Aaron Cash get used by other authors. In fact, the character of Aaron Cash is prominent in the video games, which means Slott is getting royalties from the video games, and every time somebody buys a video game, that's his character being used in that calendar year. Therefore, it helps with his insurance benefits and what have you. Jane Doe. Jane Doe has kind of been revamped, but he created her. She's able to make realistic flesh suits out of people and assume their identity. Which I know you guys just rolled your eyes. I can feel it through the internet. Kind of an Ed Gein, kind of criminal, with mystical powers, mixed in with some Silence of the Lambs going on there. Just Jane Doe's just kind of creepy that way. And Humpty Dumpty, this poor bastard. Humpty Dumpty is truly a tragic character. Humpty Dumpty isn't evil. He's just impaired. And I don't mean that in any kind of negative way. His thing, Humpty Dumpty is simple-minded. He had a problem in his origin story, which is, I think, the fifth, maybe the fourth or fifth issue. Could be as early as third issue, but he, like I said, he's not gifted. He's this large, hulking, obese guy. And one day he's going to the train station, and the train blows past. It just doesn't stop. The train, he sees this train, it doesn't stop for him. So he goes to the library, reads everything he can about trains. Then he breaks into the train station, fixes the train, and has a bunch of pieces left over. And the train wrecks. And he goes through different things through Gotham that in his simple mind just need fixed. Which leads to people getting hurt. He's introduced as a Batgirl villain and not a Batman villain. Batgirl apprehends him. She understands what's going on. And their tussle, it's not really a fight. It's extremely one-sided. And he's just so big and obese and dim-witted that he just absorbs the abuse that she I mean, the kicks and everything. They wind up falling to the ground, and her shoulders get popped out and get popped out of socket. And because he's been fixing things for so long, he picks her up, pops her arms back into, pops her, and she's like, how? She's like, look, how? Why? She's like, you were broken. He's like, I figured out what you were doing, what was going on, because of the trail. Her mundane persona as Barbara Gordon, librarian. She started seeing him check out books and on different things, and these different things going awry. And she's like, you know, I understand the things on clocks and on trains and on automobile, on all this stuff. But what about Grey's Anatomy? Why did you check Grey's Anatomy out? He's like, well, my grandmother was broken and I needed to fix her. And Barbara's like, okay. And he willingly takes her back to his domicile, and Grandma's deader than hell. Evidently, he killed her. She got sick, and he figured he could take her apart and put her back together like everything else. And it didn't go real well for him. And that's how Humpty wound up in Arkham. Now, Aaron Cash is probably the only security guard, the only honest security guard at Arkham Asylum, the only one that's not corrupted. He was in an incident and lost one of his hands. Killer Croc bit it off, and that's Aaron. Like I said, these three characters are showed up over the years, off and on, through different Bat family titles, you know, Batman, Batgirl, Nightwing, what have you. And like I said, Aaron Cash is used heavily in the Arkham games. The story is, you have our antagonist of the story, because like I said, Arkham Asylum is technically our protagonist, the asylum itself. And our antagonist, the person we're following through this adventure, is a multi-billionaire. I mean, Bruce Wayne level finances. Man named Warren White. Warren White gets busted for running Ponzi schemes and stuff like that, pyramid schemes, and his lawyers figured things out where we'll get your trial moved to Gotham. Plead insanity. The people in Gotham are really good about finding people not guilty by reason of insanity. We'll get you in a little, you know, rich white guy's home, you know, sanitarium. You'll do a few months and you'll be out. And Warren White, also known as Warren the Great White Shark, because of his ability to screw people over on their retirement, screw people on their investments. Kind of a Bernie Madoff type character. So everything is going to plan until we get to the sentencing part. And in comic book logic and comic book realities, that seems kind of counter oxymoron statement, but in comic book world, when you're found innocent or guilty, the judge does things right there. Just boom, we're going to give sentencing right now. And he sentences our boy White to Arkham Asylum. And he's like, okay, if you don't like it, appeal it. Until then, you're going to Arkham. Peace. Which this whole trial and stuff mirrors One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and the HBO series Oz, except it's set in Gotham City with comic book rules. Our boy White is not prepared in the least bit for life in Gotham City. He finds out real quick that rich white guys don't do well incarcerated with freaks and geeks and people like the Joker, people like Two-Face, Poison Ivy. It doesn't work out well for them, and it doesn't work out well for him at all. There's a great scene where he's in the shower and he drops soap, and the only one in the shower with him is the Joker. And that whole thing does not go the way you would expect it to go. And it's one of those scenes it's very Joker. It is very much in line with the Joker, but at the same time, the feeling in the book and the feeling what's going on, you expect something. You expect maybe a little bit of rape, maybe a murder, or something like that. But that doesn't happen. Joker kind of half-assed befriends him, and that's just like, and it's done in a very well written way. White is seeing a shrink, and he's like, look, he's trying to explain to his shrink, like, look, lady, I am not cut out for this. I need a transfer, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, I ain't getting you transfer. And this goes on, and this goes on. And finally, the shrink's like, hey, look, you've got X number of dollars. And he's like, yeah. He's like, if you give me, 30, 40 million, that's that, you make more than that in interest in 24 hours. So, that will set me up. I can walk away from this life. I can get on with my life and fuck all. And finally, he's like, no, that's extortion. She's like, well, peace. So finally, he gets broken down by the rigors of living in Arkham Asylum. And he finally comes through and goes, okay, we'll do this. And you're like, okay. So they get the money transferred. The money gets transferred into her account, this, that. And she's like, you know what? You know what I haven't had in a while? Some good hard cock. And Just as they're getting ready to bang, Batman comes through the window. And Batman's like, you almost got away with this, Jane Doe. And it's revealed that Jane Doe had killed the actual shrink and made a skin suit and became this shrink. And it's ugh. And it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of gross because it's implied that under the skin suit, when she's not wearing a skin suit, she's just muscle and veins and nerve, and from there the story starts to go off the rails. There is some wonderful tributes to your Silver Age stories. We find out that some of the guards are extorting money from some of the inmates, and they're taking them from one side, from like the male side to the female side, for conjugal activities with, you know, other inmates. And he takes one inmate. There's a guard, one of the corrupt guards. They have a loop that's a 30-minute loop that just repeats over and over of everything going on correctly, and they load that into the view screen so the people don't see anything abnormal. They go in, he takes this prisoner, and he goes to the cell holding Magpie and Poison Ivy happen to be bunkmates at this going on. And the women are like, which one you want? Who do you want? Do you want me or you want her? And the particular inmate is like, Poison Ivy, I don't trust. You have a bad habit of killing guys. So I'm going to do Magpie. And they go to Bone Town. And this is when shit hits the fan. Riot kicks off. Jane Doe escapes from her cell. And you just have mayhem. We get a series of panels of Poison Ivy and Magpie and their panties and bras, basically Shawshanking Redemption their way out of Arkham, but that doesn't go well. They find, instead of freeing themselves, they wind up in a sealed tomb with some imprisoned demons because, of course, it's Arkham. And they inadvertently release the demons, and you have just complete chaos. The Joker and Two-Face are like, you know what? This is crazy. We're leaving. Peace. And they peace out and leave. This drives our boy White crazy. By the time everything is resolved, everything is you come to our finale, everything's wrapped up. Batman brings in the Joker, and basically Jane Doe almost escapes, and Batman stops her from escaping. We have to deal with some questions, though. This is very much a story about mental health. the inadequacies of mental health in America, the abuse in our sanitariums, the abuse by so-called medical professionals. And it takes a hard look at all this through the eyes of comics. And it's one of those ones where you read it and you go, this is an enjoyable story. Then you go off doing something else and you start thinking about it and you're like, oh, fuck. This is a parallel to this news story I heard, over here, this news story. And it's very, very what's the term I'm looking for? It's very, very much a look into the problems we have in reality through a fictional narrative. I highly recommend reading it. I highly recommend a lot of this stuff. A lot of the stuff I do, I try to do a majority of positive things that I would recommend, and this is one of them. The art is fantastic. The story's fantastic. If you've watched the Penguin series that just wrapped up a few weeks ago on HBO or HBO Max or whatever the fuck they're calling it this week, episode 4, we get to visit with we get to be in Arkham Asylum with Sophia Falcone, and this live action portrayal of Arkham holds true with this 2003, this 23-year-old, 2013, 21-year-old comic. It's that Arkham. So, like I said, it's well worth reading. It's well worth examining. It's a very enjoyable comic. It goes off the rails. There's a great mixture of some Silver Age storytelling with the modern gritty storytelling. And until later, people, I'm going to wrap this video up here. This video is running way long, so remember to be a good human. Be good to other humans. Peace.
Hey, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?